So when you say study, it's about the books. You were fortunate enough to have some good teachers like Yamunacharya
Yeah.
and Swami in Nuggehalli and Gurur, where you followed him. Apart from that, I mean, if you can remember something about the teachers and if you can speak about it, that is one. And the libraries, you had access
Yes,
to
yes.
good libraries, and librarians were a form of gurus to you.
Yes, yes.
They would lead you to good
Yes.
books. Now, what do you think is the situation of libraries nowadays? I don't see the competence in the librarians who can guide, and we have a shortage of books. One, there is nobody to prescribe good books, and we are finding it difficult because many books are out of print. So, if you can collectively talk about the teachers and the libraries and the librarians, how can they help enhance our knowledge in present day?
See, the problem of our educational institutions and the universities are lack of competent teachers. Because even teaching profession is taken as an employment opportunity, and they bring reservation and all these things without looking at the ability of the teacher. A teacher should be not only a person to give knowledge to the youngsters, but he should create knowledge. That means he should do research in every subject. It may be sociology or history or philosophy or physics or chemistry, etc. He should do research and then contribute to the growth of knowledge. If a person hasn't got this much of ability, creative ability, he is unfit to be a teacher. Now, are they taking this into consideration at all?
No.
They take consideration on the basis of reservation or caste or influence. Even you see, bribe. You see, in Karnataka, they say that for a lecturer's post, the bribe of up to 50,000 rupees. Vice Chancellor post, bribe of 4 to 5 crores of rupees. And this 5 crores of rupees he will earn as the Vice Chancellor. How? So, even though we have so many universities in India, not even one is counted among 200 good universities in the whole world. That is the problem in our country.
You had recently met the Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji regarding the education, elementary education in mother tongue. Can you explain the concept that you have in mind?
See, in Karnataka, but I think the same situation is spreading in all the states of India. In Karnataka, people have a craze for English medium, especially when Bangalore became the center of software industry, and people are enamored of software graduates. For that, knowledge of English is necessary. So, city people send their children to English medium school and prepare them to get software seats in engineering college, and so on and so forth. So, villagers also think only city people are getting into jobs, and why not we, our children? Therefore, we want English medium schools in villages also. We want to send our children for English medium schools. And this it has become a it has become a rampant throughout Karnataka. Now, If it happens, if all the children are sent to English medium schools, not studying Kannada, what will happen to Kannada? 6 crores of rupees, is it 6? No, yes, 6 crores of population. If they completely desert their mother tongue, if children begin to talk among themselves only in English right from that young age, what will happen to the local language? Now, they will desert it and they will all begin to talk only in English. Now, same situation if it happens in other states also. I have heard that same trend is there in all the states of India. Then for that, some literary people of Karnataka went to High Court saying this is against the principle of the linguistic state formation. I think in the year 1954 or 56, the states were divided on the basis of languages, etc. The philosophy behind linguistic state formation was each language group should have maintain their own culture, and then that language should develop, and that language should develop books in their languages, etc. Not merely literature, but books, etc., etc. That was the philosophy. And now the language is completely dead. If that happens throughout India, what will happen to Indian culture? See, Indian culture, though the origin of our culture is Sanskrit and Pali, later on our culture is grown through our local languages, our state languages. So, with this argument, people went to High Court. But the English medium schools, they are rich people because they charge lakhs of rupees even for the admission of a child to the primary first year, where they start with AIE. Instead of AIE, they start with ABCD. So they have money, and they they also went to High Court and appointed very clever lawyers. The High Court gave the judgment, the language of instruction should be left to the discretion of the parents, and others we cannot judge upon it. That was the High Court judgment. And the writers went to Supreme Court also. Supreme Court upheld it. Now, if you take the background of the High Court judges and the Supreme Court judges, naturally they know the benefit of English medium schools. Those who are in that position, High Court position, and High Court lawyers, Supreme Court lawyers, they have come up with English knowledge only. Now, once the Supreme Court gives a judgment, we cannot do anything. That is final. So, in this context, the central government should pass a law saying local language or the state language should be the medium of instruction at least up to 4th standard or 6th standard, where English also can be taught as a language, not as the medium of instruction. There is a difference between English as medium of instruction and English as a language. So, for that, only central government should do it. They should pass a law bypassing the High Court, Supreme Court's judgment. But nobody bothered about it. So, in this context, I wanted to meet Mr. Modi, and then I asked for an appointment, and he gave me an appointment, because before giving appointment, he wants the purpose of my meeting and the problem of my meeting, etc. I wrote 2-page statement, and then sent, along with it I sent for appointment, and the appointment was given. I explained this to Mr. Modi. But Modi knows all the problem. He knows the details of the problem. What he said is, these English medium wallahs are very influential people, and our whatever many English medium institutions are owned by politicians themselves, and they earn a lot of money out of it. Even at the admission stage, they take 1 or 2 lakhs of rupees, and then monthly fees and this and that, etc. So the parents are completely squeezed. Now he said, many politicians are for that. Now, whatever the subject we bring before the parliament, the opposition people simply oppose it. We will have opposition. And many BJP the MPs are also for that. Now we have to take them into consideration. And we have many other problems to pass in the parliament. Therefore, we cannot go aggressively, though I believe in this. Before that, you convince our BJP members in Karnataka itself. How can we convince them? That is the position.
Okay. So I have a set of questions on philosophy. You are a scholar in both Indian and Western philosophy. In your works, we clearly see Indian philosophy. For example, Sakshi, which is a purely philosophical novel, which is an embodiment of the 4 Purusharthas, and also the myths of Yama and Chitragupta. Which are the Western values that are implemented in your novels? How do we find the elements of Western philosophy that have influenced you?
You see, in many characters, for example, you take that Gore Sahib in Mandra.
Ramkumari.
He is not representing purely Indian values. He is a tax lawyer, studied English law and Western law and all that. But in spite of it, he is a perfect gentleman, an important gentleman in the whole novel, etc. So there are, one thing is, we cannot say that we can go only with traditional Indian values. You see, Western values or Western institutions and Western educational institutions, they have come to stay with us. Now, in addition to it, we have to keep up our Indian tradition. That is all my point. Western philosophy doesn't mean, you see, Kant, Hegel, and then Schopenhauer, etc. It's not merely that. But the values that Western institutions have done, for example, our parliament, it's a Western institution, but we must follow it, taking into consideration its real spirit. That is, we are not doing that. And if we do it in the real spirit, then we can also practice our Indian institutions of panchayat. Panchayat was our Indian practice. In each villages, etc., for any dispute, etc., village headmen, some important people in the village will sit and then go to the problem and then solve it, and everyone would accept it. Therefore, our people are saved from going to law court and then so many adjournment and each case, running into 15 years, 20 years, and by which time this man would be spending lot of money, lakhs of rupees paying to the lawyer and all these things, etc. So, we should retain the spirit of our traditional traditional way of life without coming in clash with Western institutions.